bitches!
Hi, hello, and welcome back. Today we are going to be discussing the gloom between stars.
Listen, I was ready to give up on this series at the end of the last book. But I will say,
It's picked up.
it has picked up. While a certain character still sucks ass, and I'm still annoyed as fuck at her, um, the
At least
actual
we're like
book
getting more
itself.
justification for why she's like being a bitch.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So,
Uh, but normally, like, unless it really grips my attention, I don't read past when I'm supposed to, and I couldn't stop reading, so I read 3 episodes worth.
I did as well. I did as well. But right off the bat, like, first of all, it was a little weird because there was no prologue, which usually there is. So I was a
Yeah,
little like, what? But right off the bat, like, we came in swinging with this. Like, with the whole first, like, paragraph I highlighted because it says, obsession is a beast with two masks. Sometimes it's a thing of beauty gilded with poetry and devotion. It's called many names, though in its cleverness it often passes for love. Turn it over, however, and discover obsession's prickly, poisonous edges. It consumes wholly, whether worn affection or pain. Few perceive the subtle lines between the monster of compulsion and infatuation as love and hate blur, for they are not opposites. Toothless, benign indifference is obsession's true counterpart. Wow. I was obsessed with that paragraph. I highlighted literally the entire thing and was just really excited about it. And then I wrote, wow, what a way to start a chapter. Or
what a way
really
to
a
start a
book.
book. Yeah,
Because it's like, that's the first paragraph of the entire book.
yeah. And when we left off the last time, Amaris was taken with the king to stampede towards the southern continent or the southern part of the continent, I should say, the southern country. And everybody else was basically like right behind them. Except for the Reavers. The Reavers are not there. It's just Yaslin, okay, the two regular Reavers, the ones that we've been like with the whole time.
Yeah.
But like his dad, Allele, all of those kind of people, like they're not there anymore with this group. So we have Gadriel, Yaslin, um, we have Nox, we also have Ash, and we also
Malik.
have Malik. So that's the only group that's kind of going after the king and his army, essentially. So that's kind of where we left off, and that's kind of where we're at right now. So they're kind of going towards the camp, and the camp is in like a valley of some sort, basically, so that it's easy for anybody to see lights coming towards them. They can stay hidden without having to really truly give up their position, which is, I mean, in a way that's smart, but I also feel like up high is probably like best. But this is
Right.
also a country with like winged fae, so like, maybe
Right.
not.
They could take the high ground pretty quickly if they needed to. But
Yeah.
Nox is fucking feral right now. She is
Oh,
ready to murder everyone.
but
She's
she looks a little sickly at this time too.
She does. She does.
She's
She's
not doing too hot.
super pissed at Yaslin. Like, ugh.
Oh
But
yeah,
I'm
she's like
like,
picking up
enemies to
fights.
lovers, enemies to lovers, enemies to
I
lovers,
know.
enemies to lovers.
I was like, this is gonna be great. I was like,
Yeah.
there's a whole point, like a reason behind Yaslin going, I choose that one. I
Yes.
was like, okay, we know that Yaslin like prefers girls, but like a subtle like, damn, she hot would have been fine.
Yeah.
But she like made all of the like points in the world to say, I choose that one. Dibs.
Yeah, that one's mine. Yeah. I'm like, oh,
But
enemies to
like,
lovers.
yeah. But Yaslin is like, come on, I can't pick these guys up. Like, we have to go there to get Amaris. And she goes, don't fucking touch me.
Yep. And she eventually concedes and lets Yaslin carry her.
She sees the truth behind why.
Oh, I
Thanks to
don't have
Malik.
anything else until page 8.
I have one right before that.
Okay.
So on page 7, Malik is like, hey, come talk with me. And then they walk away, they go away. At this point, Nox is not looking the best. She's a little lackluster. She's
Yeah, they
not.
said something about her body felt like threatening the signs of some strange flu.
Yeah. So she's kind of not, I wouldn't say gaunt, but like
She's
she
sick.
yeah. You can see the signs of sickness, like hair's lackluster, all of that kind of stuff. She just doesn't look healthy. So Malik takes her away, far away.
To a
And he's
secluded
like,
area.
a very secluded area. And like Malik understands that like you love Amaris, that doesn't bother me at all. She deserves all of your love, all of these things. And like Nox is like, yeah, but do you really see like what could happen to you? And like
Right.
he's hinting that he understands, but doesn't come right out and say it, which I really, really appreciate, because when something like that has been demonized by that country, it's like a sense of power. It's something that she's been struggling with, like internally. Not that everybody knows that she's been struggling with it. It's a breath of fresh air to see somebody like Malik um notice, but doesn't bring the trauma out.
Yeah. And
Like
that's
doesn't use it against her.
partially what I comment on too, because like it's actually 7 into 8 that I'm commenting on, because um he's like, you said the Duke was turned by whatever abilities you have because he was a taker. And then he's like, I'm pretty sure I know exactly who and what you are, and that's why I'm not asking anything of you. And then on the top of page 8, he says, I'm a giver. And I'm like, Malik, you're so sweet. Like, look at you. Aww.
Yeah, I was like, do you really know what she is? Like,
I think they do, because I think they have all those monster books and all those demon books. Like, I think that him and Ash know what she is. But for the sake of, like, I don't know, politically correctness, for lack of a better term, they're just ignoring it.
yeah, well,
Because I think
in
that's why Ash keeps getting pissed.
yeah. Well, in something too is not everything that like the Reavers haven't found everything, I guess, on monsters throughout the
Yeah.
land. And she does make a good point when she was like, this is something from the north, if I am of Fae northern blood or whatever. Like, do they really truly have this? Do they
Right.
know these things? So like in the back of my mind, I was always like, do they not know what that is?
I think they do.
Yeah. But it's really, really sweet that he's just like, yeah, that's your trauma. I'm not gonna like out you for it. That's not my place. That's not that. But you know what? The whole scene that comes right after that is exactly what Amaris and Gadriel lack.
Yeah.
The spark, the
Yep.
sweetness, the everything. Like I get it. You can
Like
be rough and tough.
chemistry.
Yeah. Like you can be rough and tough in bed. That's fine. But like,
There has to be that spark or that passion there, though. Like,
yeah, like there's got to be something that's fueling this.
and I just
And
don't think
Gadriel
that's
is
from
just
Gadriel.
fucking. It's just weird. Like, let me choke you so I can find out your powers.
Right.
I love
And then
you.
she's turned on by that for some reason. Like, what is happening?
It's like, hold up, hold up.
I mean, I get the being turned on by that thing, but like, it's not my kink, but like, I get it.
Yeah, but then also it's like, where is this coming from?
Right.
So that's weird. But
Yeah.
that's all I had for chapter 1.
Yeah, I just wrote that scene was much more my speed than the I basically made the same comment you did, just with different words. Like that was
Yeah.
much better scene than that last horrific scene we got with Gadriel and
Gadriel,
Amaris.
yeah. But it worked. In chapter 2, she wakes up and she's happy. healthy. She's happy and
Happy and
healthy,
healthy. And Malik
and
is still in control of his soul.
spirit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he is still there, and she is back in action, ready to go. Happy and healthy. So Ash is
So
still pissed.
Ash is still pissed. Yes, he is not excited about it.
And I mean, I understand, like, if he's not willing to talk to Nox about anything, and it's just getting Malik's out of the story, like, it's hard to see everything.
Yeah. So then they get back to the camp. Because they, like, fell asleep on the riverside or something, I think. Then they come back to the camp the next morning, and that's when Ash is like, the fuck. But then Gadriel, sweet Gadriel, is like, this is taking too long. Yaz and I are gonna fly ahead while you three continue on foot. And they're like, no, that's not what we're gonna, like, do you really think we trust you? And I'm just like, why would you expect them to trust you at this point? Because Yaslin fucked that up for you. Well, you fucked that up for you, but Yaslin called you out on it. Like,
Yeah.
so the fact that he's just like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and they're like, no.
Are we, though?
Yeah. And then all of a sudden we switch. Well, okay, first of all, they figure out what they're gonna do. Yaz carries Nox. Gadriel carries Ash.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought Yaz carried Nox last chapter.
I did too. It's this chapter.
Clearly.
But it's fine. So Yaslin,
Like, huh?
they talk Nox into it, and she at first is like, nope, I'm riding the horse, fuck you. And then they're like, this is ridiculous. Like, stop being an idiot. The horse will be too slow if you do that, because you can't have, and Yaslin can't carry the men. So Gadriel carries Ash, Yaslin carries Nox, and Malik follows on the horse. And then in the middle of the chapter, we switch point of views, which was like, it threw me off, because I was like,
yeah, because normally
Amaris,
it's like a whole chapter.
Yeah, I was like, Amaris isn't even in this fucking chapter. What the fuck? But she is. So we switched to Amaris's point of view.
And Amaris is chained in a tent.
She is, but she's talking to Zakai is there with
Yeah.
her? Yeah. Zakai is there with her, and she starts asking like the right questions. She's like, Kai, do you know what Gadriel was saying about the King's heir? Like, she's like, what does he mean that the King's heir is still alive? And she starts asking the right questions. Sakai doesn't know what she's talking, or like doesn't know what Gadriel was talking about.
Yeah. But they're starting to ask the right questions, and they're starting to put two and two together, which
the Gadriel is telling the truth, and
and it's just taking a long ass time to do it.
Yeah. So I didn't really write much else for the rest of that chapter, except that so far, which again, we're only at the end of chapter 2, but so far, Amaris is not as insufferable as she was in the last book. Give her another chapter or so, and I change my tune. But
keeps getting better.
Yeah. So that's all I had for chapter 2.
Same. I mean, that was the last page, basically.
Yeah. And then chapter 3. What was I talking about there? Oh, that's not even on this page. They catch up to the war camp or whatever, and they're on top of this like
outlook.
Like a cliff, kind of. Yeah. Like above
overlook.
The valley.
That's what it is.
Overlook. Yeah, that's what they call it. And Gadriel's like trying to talk to Nox, and he's trying to be funny, I think, because he's like reintroducing himself. He's like, I'm Gadriel, and she's like, I know. Like, she actually says, I don't know if you realize this, but we've been traveling together for several days, starting to question your capacity to serve as general if you don't remember who you've met. And like,
see
they just
that
have this
right there,
thing.
that is like the chemistry.
Right, the like snarkiness, the
That's the
Mars
true
just doesn't
enemies
have
to
chemistry
lovers.
with anyone.
She really
No,
doesn't though. She's just very
she really
awkward.
doesn't. And I think part of it is that she's awkward. Part of it, well, I'm not gonna say. Well, no, we know that she's
Yeah.
not human. Like
She's something
she's,
otherworldly, a
yeah, made. She's like
demigoddess, if you
Jesus,
will.
basically. Um,
Is she a
and
demigoddess though?
I said she's like Jesus. Yeah,
True. I'll bring that point back later.
yeah. I have a lot more to say about that later as well. But they're talking, and I about said Dane because here in a second I talk about Dane. Um, Gadriel is trying to give a fresh start, get a fresh start, basically. But on page 27, she is like, you love your, or well, 26 to 27. She's like, you love your cousin, you wanted to believe the best in him, yada yada yada. And he's like, I guess I thought if anyone could talk sense into him, it would be his most recent object of obsession, which is Amaris.
Yeah.
And then she's like, until your goddamn sergeant betrayed you.
Yeah.
And
Yaslin.
then, yeah, he starts like describing Yaslin. And she says, or he says, it wasn't betrayal. If anything, I was betrayed by Ceres. I was betraying Ceres by hiding Amara is so close to his home. I know you hate Yaslin, and I don't expect that to change, but Yaz is good, almost to a fault. She believes in her country and in her people. She has no ill will toward any of us, even after we've made it very clear she fucked up. But basically, he's like, she's a rule follower. She's gonna do what she's duty bound to do. And I was like, oh my god, Dane. Dane.
So true. And there was a moment here during their conversation that he was kind of describing or not he, she was describing her features compared to Gadriel's. And she's like, she regarded him again, this time with a bit more intentionality. His features were far more angular and masculine. His skin was a richer depth of bronze than hers, but both denoted their Rascot lineage. I keep wanting to say Roscott. Rascot lineage. There was something more than that, though. There was a feature in the bridge of his nose and the curve of his chin that she had recognized almost, or however faintly, in her own mirror. She faced the trail again, uncomfortable with the unfamiliar feeling that tugged at her. And I'm like, you're making it sound as if Gadriel fathered her
Right? But
instead
I
of
think it's
Ceres.
because Gadriel and Ceres are cousins, right? And like,
Yeah. I guess it's just weird because I feel like my cousins and I don't look alike. The only cousin that I think would look alike to me is like the girl, like the little girl cousin, not the little girl, she's not little, but my female cousin, only because when I was like 12, I would babysit her and we looked eerily alike.
yeah. I don't know. My two female cousins on my dad's side, we have the same nose. Like that whole, all the females, and even some of the males on that side of the family have the same nose. But like some of Brittany's family, like they all look like Brittany's niece, which I know that's her niece, not her cousin, but her niece looks exactly like she did as a child, and her nephew looks exactly like her brother did as a child, like which would be his nephew. So like I don't know, I could see it. Because some
Yeah.
families have really strong gene pools.
I was gonna say, I guess it all depends on like the gene pools.
Yeah.
I'm a I'm a mixture of both my parents, so like one thing might be my mom's. Like, my eye shape is my mom's, my eye color is my dad's. I have my mom's nose, but I have my dad's lips.
Yeah. I have my dad's nose for sure. It's a big old honker.
My dad's got, like, a ski nose, so it, like, goes up.
Mm,
Mine's, like, a little I don't know really how to describe a button nose, but, like, I feel like mine's smaller in that way, so, like
yeah. Oh, mine's
and
huge.
it
Look at
goes down. And mine
it.
goes down. So, but I was sitting here, I was like, this is my personal like experience with my own family. I don't look like none of them that much.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Yep. So they keep talking, and then they kind of start strategizing. They're like watching, they're looking at the camp, and Nox is like, if you were the Mad King, where would you have stashed Amaris? Asking Gad, and they're kind of strategizing. And then he's basically like, the the rest of the group is like, Gadriel, the last time you tried to talk to the king, he threw you into a cell. Like, what? And Gadriel's like, well, this time we have Nox. And they're all like, absolutely fucking not. Nope, she's not going down there. Even Yaslin, she's like, I'm sorry, but no, you can't do that. I love Ceres and will serve him until he just takes his final breath. But our responsibility extends to his daughter now, and we can't guarantee her safety in that camp. Not with him in this mental state. Like, Gad, you knew that wasn't gonna fly. I know you're not stupid. You knew they weren't gonna
especially
be
when you
like,
got a Dane-like character right there.
right? No. Although I will say, after this next couple, like after this fight that's about to happen, she doesn't give Dane anymore. At least not to me. But
I think she sees like the concern of everything.
Yeah.
But
also I think that Dane is going to have a very different character arc in this next book as well. So we'll see.
at least he fucking better.
Yeah.
He's already started changing. He better be better. But demons come.
Yeah, so they're like still watching, right? And they're like trying to figure out what they're gonna do. And all of a sudden there's like some weird movement by the water. And this fucking like bird scorpion, but with frog skin, comes up out of the water.
Yeah.
Like, I'm imagining like a platypus with a scorpion tail and a sharper beak.
Yeah.
With like frog skin. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Something along those lines. Yeah. I need to like bring my mic up here because like this is a good mic because I can be up here. Sometimes you hear me and then sometimes it doesn't work. Anyways, the vac leash. That's what they're called, the vac leash.
Yeah, vac leash. And like, what the fuck? Like, I was like, well, fuck, what now? Is it Amaris, the Allmother? What the fuck? Like, yeah. What is making this happen?
Well, and then there's something off in the distance on like the other side of what they're calling a gully, yeah. And it's like a blue light. And I was like, blue light. I was like, blue light. And I was sitting here thinking, like, okay, is this Moroi?
Yeah.
Or Moray? Is it Moray? Or is it the priestesses from the temple? Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that it's like the All Mother, like that's like doing this, but like when I was thinking blue, I keep going back to like the blue of in Akatar, like the blue priestesses, like the things that they wear. So that's what I was thinking, and so I was like, is it like an Ianthe?
I was imagining, or I was theorizing at this time that it was Amaris, that she had like unlocked a new power or something, or had figured out how to control her shockwave or something. I was convinced that it was Amaris.
I was like, nah, that it ain't Amaris. She's trapped in a tent.
Right. But I thought like maybe, because you know how her shockwave always happens when she's like threatened. Yeah. So I was thinking that it was something like that, but
no. She doesn't know about this yet. This was like a brand new. It hasn't started attacking the camp yet.
Yeah, so she doesn't even know that this is happening yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then on 35, Nox is trying to tell them something. She's like, shh, shh, and Gaz is like, what? Do you see another demon? Like, And then she says, do you see that hill? The Vaklish would be by the water. Shut up and listen, Yaslin. Shut up and listen. If Yaslin were a man, I would be so annoyed. I mean, I'm annoyed anyway, but I would be so much more annoyed right now if she were a man than she kept cutting off Nox because, like, shut the fuck up.
I'd be like, all right, you're going down this cliff with them. Fuck you.
Yeah. Well, and then they're like, okay, this is when they see the something blue. And Ash and Malix are like, we're gonna go investigate that. Or no, Gadriel's like, you and Malik are gonna go investigate that blue light. So Ash and Malik are going there. And Yaslin and Gadriel are gonna go find Ceres and get Amaris. And Nox is just gonna stay on the hilltop. Yeah, okay. Have any of you met Nox before? Like, I know none of you expected Nox to fucking stay on that hilltop.
And my favorite is Gadriel's like, and Nox goes, don't be a hero.
Yeah, and then he says, just stay alive.
alive.
But, like, y'all know she's not gonna stay on top of that hilltop. I know, which nobody technically said that, but, like, I also know you didn't think that was gonna happen.
Yeah, she did say, she implied not to be the hero, and Gadriel's like, just don't fucking die.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the end. That's literally the last line of chapter 3. So, chapter 4, we're back to Amaris, and Zakai comes in and is like freaking out because she hears all these weird sounds, and she's like, come on, Shockwave, like what the fuck is going on? So Zakai comes back and is like, we have to get you out of here. But then he, like, I don't know, he starts just like yanking the tent out of the ground. Like,
he couldn't get her the cuffs off.
Okay, so he's just gonna carry the whole tent away is what's happening then.
Well, he was trying to rip the thing out to like break it so that she can like go down or something.
Yeah, which ends up happening, but not because of Zakai.
Yeah.
So because I was like,
leash decides
yeah,
to come
it
and
sounds
attack.
like it's time to fly, but nope. So there's like one of the Vaklish crawling across the top of the tent.
Yeah. And they were describing, so like you could see the description from the cliffside. But now we're getting the description up close. And you know what? Remember okay, so remember when Millicent like grabbed Nox with her
Dead hand.
weird hand situation?
Mm-hmm.
To me, I was like, it's like they're describing the same thing. And I'm like, is she? I'm not saying she's like a Vakleesh of some way, but like, she's super fucking pale too. So like, is she some monster of some sort?
Right.
Like similar to it, but it just sounds like she's describing Millicent's little hand.
Yeah.
And I'm
does.
like,
They have blackened talons and sharp charcoal beaks.
beach.
Beaks.
Well, it makes sense too because like they can go from one place to another, like not real fast, but like you know how she was like in her carriage and she's like, "Yeah, we're gonna be there in 2 weeks," and it's like a day later she's here.
Yeah, because she can. Yeah, no.
I hope she comes back though because I do want to learn more.
Yeah, or maybe there's like a short story or something about her. I feel like she will. I feel like she's gonna be on Moiray's side somehow at some point. Or maybe she's going to like defect to their side. The more I read this series, the more I draw ties to Sarah J. Maas books, and I'm like, is Piper CJ a fan? Like, what's happening? There's even a part in this book where I'm like, she's literally using the same terminology.
I think so. I was questioning this with Will, and Will said that between the two books, there are um a lot of folklore references, and with Piper CJ having a master's in folklore. Um
Yeah.
Now I don't know about Sarah J. Maas, like how much research she did into folklore, but a lot of the stuff that she had in her book was folklore
Yeah.
based. So
And some of it makes sense with that, but some of it, like something I'm going to reference later in not this episode, but maybe the next one, I was like, and some of the things like, which I mean, I guess that could be folklore, but like the special cloth or whatever that they put on his wings in the last at the university, that happens in Throne of Glass, not to a fairy, but to a wyvern. Um, and there are some characters in Throne of Glass that kind of mimic, or these characters kind of mimic those characters, I guess. So I'm like, mm.
gotcha. Okay.
But anyway, they're under the tent, and the Veklige is on top of the tent, and it like steps on Zakai, but Zakai is like protecting Amaris. He's got his wings over her and is protecting her. And then they get out of the tent, and Amaris, being her Reaver training, is looking at the monsters and realizes that they don't have eyes. So she tells that to Zakai, and then he's like really struggling because these are his people, like these are his troops, and they're dying. And she's like, save your people. And so there he goes, and she's on her own. But like this next couple pages, I'm like, sometimes I forget that she's like actually smart and trained in strategy, because she's such a brat all the time that I forget. But like she really like strategizes which way to run. She's like, there's fire that way, so I can't go that way. I don't want to go towards the river because that's where the monsters are coming from. And then she starts counting the monsters, and she's just like really strategizing to decide which way to go. And I'm like, I forget that she actually
Can do that.
yeah, and like isn't a total shithead. Um, but yeah, and then the only other thing, then she almost gets caught by a fucking monster. Um, but all of a sudden there's a flash of wings trying to draw the beast away from her. And I got really confused by this because I don't know. Like this, it almost feels like the next chapter is like the same scene we're reading about now, but from a different point of view. So like we go back in time
It's
a little bit.
so it's like what's happening all at the same time.
Yeah. It just it throws me off. So here it says that Zakai is drawing the beast away from her. But then when we keep going, it almost seemed like maybe it was actually Yaslin, or maybe it happens again and it's Yaslin that saves her the second time. I don't know. I was really
So
confused.
when he first comes out, like when they first come out and when she's first strategizing and almost gets caught by that, then it's either
Sakai.
him or Gadriel, I think.
She says it's Sakai. Like she says
Oh,
she
okay.
recognized the cry as a figure darted past again. It's Sakai drawing the beast away from her.
Yeah, and then a little later, Yaslin didn't know that they
Couldn't see.
yeah, until she like landed and like read the body language.
Yeah.
And then she like goes up, tests how high the tail would reach. Or is that Sakai?
I think that was Yaslin. I think.
Okay, and then she starts like screaming to everybody. and then was like, okay, my people are getting saved. She's a Reaver. She's on top of it. She's safe. She's this.
Yep. And she basically, so like at the end of this chapter 4, is basically Amaris realizing that the only path she can take is back to the river. That there's fire everywhere else. And the only thing she can do is go back to the river. And mind you, during this whole thing, not only is she like trying to be stealthy and hide from these horrific monsters, but she also has handcuffs on with like a long chain. So she's holding the chain so it doesn't make noise. And it's hot. Like
It's burning her,
skin
yeah.
is blistering because of the chains. So like that just adds like an added bit of drama to it, I guess.
Yeah.
And then chapter 5.
But she does talk about how like she's just like, okay, I'm gonna remember my training. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. And it's like, cool.
Yep.
There was a lot that happened in this episode. Also, I just lost Brandy, so I have no idea what happened. But there was a lot that, not episode, this chapter. There was a lot that happened in this chapter. And like basically it was hello, welcome back.
Hi, I don't know what just happened. It said that my microphone and camera was being used by another app, and then it made me shut everything and restart. So here I am.
Yeah, it's fine. You're a lot louder than you were,
well,
that's for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah. But so yeah, I was explaining that a lot happened in this chapter.
Yes.
So from Yaslin seeing how Amaris is prepped and prepared, like on her training, she's running to go find her people. From Gadriel running to Ceres, all of that, to Nox getting off her ass.
Yeah, which is really funny because on the first page of the chapter, Yaslin, we're in Yaslin's like thinking or her thoughts, and she says, or she thinks, with any luck their new princess would avert her eyes, stay by the horse, and avoid being any more traumatized by her time in Rascot than she already was. And I'm like, oh, you don't know Nox very well, do you? Because that's for sure not what she's gonna do.
Yeah. Turn down your mic a little bit. You're so loud.
I don't have one.
You're like peeking the mic, and I'm like,
well, let me see. That's so weird because I'm like not up on it or anything.
I wonder if it's because like you're like maybe it was being used for something, like maybe it was being used on a different app and it like dampened it a little bit. That's sometimes what happens when I use Discord. If like Discord's up, it dampens what's being said over like on a different app, so that as soon as I close it out, like everything just gets louder or like clear, I guess. But Nox is being a badass despite her gigantic fear of rivers and deep water, which I don't blame her. We literally just watched all of these monsters come out of the river.
Yeah. It's not my... No, I don't like water either, especially when I can't see my feet.
Yeah, see, I don't like that. I don't like not knowing what's going to be walking by. And it's dark. So honestly, it could be the river, whatever area that they were in. Could be clear water. You just don't know it because it's nighttime. But she's like trying to get in, she's trying to get across, she's trying to like get her courage, and then as soon as she gets in there and she gets stuck in the mud, a monster looks at her and it's like,
Yeah.
bitch, I'm coming to eat
But
you. And she's
thankfully,
like, oh
it can
my
actually
god.
see. So
Yeah. So she's trying her best to like be quiet, to not say anything, to not do anything, and then all of a sudden it like goes away. And then she sees Amaris and she's like, all right, here we go. Come on, let's go. And then Amaris doesn't see her. So then she gets back out of the water to do like her makeshift run around to a bridge. And honestly, the only thing I ever said about this entire chapter, because there was a lot that was happening, it's hard to like make comments about little things when they're not impactful. It's just like,
yeah.
this is
So
what's happening.
I did
But
make a comment though about her fear of water because it keeps coming up. And I'm like, I feel like there's going to be some kind of significance there. I don't know.
yeah,
I could be wrong. Also, is that sound better? Because I did turn down. Okay.
yeah, it's a lot better. And I don't hear my ears.
It's still getting up to yellow. That's why I asked, because I wasn't sure. Like on the, oh, it just bumped all the way back up to loud for some reason. There we go. I don't know. Oh,
I was doing that, sorry.
got you.
I didn't see the yellow, so I was like, oh, okay, let me check. Because mine's not all the way up. But whatever. Anyways, technical
stuff.
That's what happens when you're not in person and you have a budget of a fucking poor person. I'm just proud of Nox for just doing it despite her great fear. She's just like, all right, here we go.
Well, I wrote that too. Like, one of my biggest things, and I do this a lot, and it's an adjustment for Brittany because she always wants to just jump in and fix things with logic. But sometimes I just need to be dramatic about it first. And then after I'm dramatic about it, I can boss up and figure it the fuck out. And I feel like that's what Nox does here. Like, she gets out of the water and she's like, ugh, and then she's like, okay, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Proud of her.
And that's the end of chapter 5.
Right.
Which this is going to be a little bit longer of it. Well,
maybe.
I don't either. I don't have a lot more to say, but we are doing more than 6 episodes. That's what I meant. More than 6 chapters.
It doesn't make sense to end part 1 midway through an episode. So we bit the bullet and read more. But anyway,
chapter 6. I don't like this. So we're at Ash and Malik now. And they're on their way to the blue thing. They run into Zakai, which is kind of weird, and then he goes away.
He saw them. And
it just seemed like an unnecessary little scene there. But I guess the significance was that he like goes to introduce himself to them and explain who he is, and Ash is like, yeah, I know, we've met. And even though they met and he looked like an Agibni to them, they still remember the name. It just got hella dark outside. That was weird. Anyway, so then they're like, Mash and Alec. Oh my god. Ash and Malik are on their way.
Mash is their
couple name.
Yeah.
They are sorry, my brain just had an ADHD moment and it kept trying to combine their names in different ways, and it was like, I like Ashlick.
I like that one too.
Yes, that's exactly what my brain did. Oh my gosh. Anyway, they get to like basically the area where the blue light is, but it's in like it's on like a outcropping of rock, and um Ash is limber and quick on his feet, but Malik has the grip strength and the upper body strength to pull himself up. So Ash is giving him a leg up, and then Malik is going to be facing whatever is in the cave by himself. Oh, the significance of them running into Zakai was that Zakai gives them a weapon, because he's like, if it's whatever it is magic, you're going to need magic to fight it. So he gives them a whip, like a chain whip with runes etched into it.
All over it.
And then we have another mid-chapter point of view change. And it's Gadriel who finds Ceres. And Crazy Pants is just sitting there drunk, unaware of what's going on, chilling in his tent. And he keeps saying, like, I would rather die here than return a failure. Like, he's very maudlin.
Yeah. And the thing is like, you wouldn't return a failure. You're returning with your kid.
But he won't listen to reason there. He's like, Gadriel's trying to explain, you have a daughter. And Ceres is like, no, I didn't. And then he like fucking fights him. Like, he's like, nope, you're lying and you're betraying me, and I'm gonna fucking fight you. And he's fighting to kill.
Yeah, and it's like Gadriel was doing great with like getting close to him while also keeping him preoccupied. But he said a couple of things to push his buttons that made him realize, you got closer to me, bitch. And now they're fighting with swords, mind you. And I'm like, okay, that's right. And like, Ceres is also like, I understand the like fight to get them like to understand like what's going on, and like, you have a daughter, you have this, you have that. But honestly, he's fucking annoying. He's annoying me right now. His little self-righteous bullshit. But I also have to think, how many years? 20-ish years? 21? Years of hearing the same thing and believing the same thing.
And then he's trying to
so,
like,
it's hard to undo all of that.
He's trying to like be like, Amaris is not vengeance. She's the answer to the prayer for healing and reunion. She was here to ensure that your daughter wasn't alone. And then he says she isn't a weapon, she's hope. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of more dangerous sometimes though than vengeance.
But that's all it
is right now. And then Ceres is like, on page 67, he's like, don't you think I know what they say? Like, the whole kingdom says I've lost my mind. No one tries to hide it. And I'm like, bitch. And Gadriel says the same thing. Like, prove it then. Like, if you're not mad, then stop fucking acting like it and prove it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't go well.
Whatever you're doing right now is not helping.
And
then Gadriel's like, oh, I need to get out of here.
Yeah,
it's hot.
Because, it's all on fire.
We're gonna burn alive in here. So let's get outside. And then they go outside, and I'm like, y'all got fucking swords.
Yep.
Bro. You can't be quiet outside with your fucking sword, but okay. And then they're like convincing like Gadriel's trying to convince him, like, I'm not gonna hurt you or kill you or whatever, but like, put him up, bro.
Yeah. And then the king raises his fist. Like, silent. Men are idiots. That's really the last thing I wrote. I wrote page 70, men are idiots. Because really, like,
I was like, because punching is silent.
Well, and also, like, why? Why are you fighting? What? Why? And that
Like, do you not see what's happening
Right.
around you? Like, deal with it then and
And
then
like
fight
it's
later.
one thing. So I feel like not finishing your mission because you can't isn't what makes you a failure. Letting your men burn to death and get eaten by creepy bird lizards is failure. Like you're not leading your men. What are you doing? Like ugh. Um
Yeah.
but that page 70, the king raised his fists is the last line of chapter 6. So then we go to chapter 7, which was really short, and I only wrote one thing for the entire chapter. We'll probably say more about the chapter, but I only wrote one thing. And that was what the fuck?
So this was a speculation at this point. Obviously, we find out in like the next couple of episodes um what and who this person is. But Malik goes up on the cliffside and finds a little girl, but not a
Yeah.
little girl. Um she's very pale to, describe her. And I'm sitting here like I completely forgot that Tarkany had like the very, very dark ebony kind of skin. So I was like, oh, she's probably from Tarkany because that's where the Vaclesh are from. Like, da da da. Like, I understand.
No.
And then I was like, wait, no, that's incorrect. So I thought, like, not maybe that she was like born and raised there, but like maybe she's traveling from there or something. Like maybe she's in cahoots with the queen,
That's what
and
I
like this
thought.
is just a way to get
I
rid
thought
of
she
them.
was with the queen.
And I was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, damn. Like, that's where the Vaclesh are from. So, like, those are terrifying. Those are silent killer kind of things. So, like, maybe she's from that location, or maybe she went there to train for all of these things. But I was very incorrect. That's all I have
Yeah,
to
so
say about that.
basically he is like watching her for a second and then he uses the whip, the chain whip, and ties her up. And then all of the after she's like tied up, all of the Vaclesh, wait, does it say that? Yeah. The screams of the monsters rose from the valley as they were freed from her hold, shrieking as they retreated to the swampy waters from which they came. So all of the Vaclesh run back into the water. So one little Fae was doing all of this. And that's all of chapter 7. So I just wrote, what the fuck?
Yeah. It's weird too because it's like, why did they run away as if they were like
Yeah.
terrified? I feel like that is their, not necessarily their motive, but like,
Right, but they were just talking in the last chapter or a couple chapters ago about how they're drawn to fire, like demons are drawn to fire and demons are this. But I wonder if it's not the aspect of not having control of your own body, because like it would be terrifying to
we're
wake up.
giving them personalities now.
I mean, I feel like all beings have personalities. Just because they're evil doesn't mean they don't have a personality.
I mean, I talk to my fish as if he's gonna
Yeah,
respond back to me.
exactly. So it's fine. I talk to this stuffed chicken like it's gonna respond back to me. So this one, it's.
Please call him
I
Hey Hey.
really want to call her Henrietta. Henrietta.
When we back in college, when I did a dance, I was part of a dance group, and a girl named Emily and I, we did a Harry Potter dubstep dance. Like we choreographed a Harry
That's
Potter
amazing.
dubstep, and we played the main characters. Essentially, she was Harry, and I was Voldemort. But we had to.
Please tell me you had a bald cap. Damn it.
No, I didn't. Um, we were the female versions or whatever is what we joked about. So like I had a group of Death Eaters, she had her group of whoever, and we like not pretended, but each person had like their own character. So she was Henrietta. And I can't remember what Baldina, I think is what we called me or something like that. I don't know. But it was a not funny. It was a pretty cool dance. But yeah.
That's fun.
Henrietta was my mortal enemy at one point in time. Curse you, Henrietta, you killed me at the end of the dance.
That's funny.
Anyways,
Yeah,
last
chapter
chapter
8.
of part 1. Okay,
This chapter
so
was very chaotic at the beginning.
yeah, it was very chaotic. It was very all over the place, but I mean, like, for good
Yeah.
reason. It's not like nothing made sense. It was, I mean, the end of a fight times like 2 or 3. But it was
Yeah.
heartbreaking. And this is the chapter where I was like,
Yeah.
what the
So for
fuck?
that first, like, on up to page 76 before the page break at the bottom, I was just like, what the fuck is happening? Because Ceres is about to kill Gadriel. Like, he is going for that killing blow. Gadriel won't leave him behind. So, like, at the very last bottom of that page, Gadriel is like, his life is flashing before his eyes kind of vibe. Like, he's thinking about Amaris and he's thinking about um his cousin, and yeah, he's just thinking
Everything.
about all these things. And then the last sentence there is, he gritted his teeth against the killing blow that never came. And I immediately, once I like read that, I was like, Nox. It's Nox. He can see Nox or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Something's happening, yeah. But it's what's really sad about all of this is, like, yes, it was Nox. Nox comes up, Nox looks at him, and something not of herself, like, she doesn't know, like, where this came from, but she just is like,
Yeah.
father, like, questioned. And it's what's really sad is on the next page, she, like, went into, like, a dreamlike state. And I think it's kind of one of those, like, shock instances, not necessarily like a legitimate dream. Um, but she saw him, realized that he looks just like her in a way, basically. And then it just kind of like an upchuck just like came out. And then, as if in a dream, she felt herself connect to a small possibility that might have occurred in some alternate reality. Absent from the charred world around her, she pictured Princess Daphne hugging her, placing the small tiara of blackened gems upon her head. She heard her father call to them both and thought of how she'd run into his arms. She saw her parents hold hands at the dinner table, her mother resting her head on her father's arms. In a disembodied dream, she had a family, she'd been loved, she'd been safe. And I was like, okay, I didn't want to
Yeah.
cry today, but I did. I was like, okay, that's fucking heartbreaking. And so, and it's like, I didn't care what Ceres did. I didn't care who he did, what happened. All I wanted after that whole fucking paragraph was Nox to have a relationship with her father. That's
Yep.
all I wanted. I was like, all right, well, here we
This
go.
is
This is what I
gonna
want.
to
I
break
want
his
Nox to
crazy
have
pants, and they're gonna have a relationship and they're gonna rule
to come,
together.
yeah, like to come back strong. And
They're
this
gonna
is what's
unite the
going to happen.
kingdom, their continent. They're gonna unite the kingdoms. Um,
I was like full ready for like the disagreements between Nox and Amaris about whether or not her father needed to die. Like
and
all
like
these things.
he's like Nox, and then he's like, "You look like her," like meaning Daphne. And they go through this whole thing where she's like, "Please come with me," like, and he's like, "Your mother was so clever. Your name is so like such a clever thing." Um, and he's like, "I can't. I wanted to give you your childhood. I wanted to give you, this is on page 84. I wanted to give you a life. I wanted to give you everything, and I took it all from you. I gave you waste and ruins. I gave you fire and ashes and madness, but I can still give you the kingdom." And then he takes a step. And the way this was written was actually like she says,
Oh,
he met
yeah.
her eyes, and Sirius closed the gap then, but it wasn't the space between himself and Nox. So then Nox screams, and Sirius had taken a step toward Gadriel, who wasn't ready
He
and
had
still
his
had his
yeah,
sword in
had
his
his
hand
sword
and
up.
up because he was defending Nox. Like, he was putting himself between Sirius and Nox because he didn't want him to hurt her. And he basically throws himself on Gadriel's sword.
And then his dying words were, "You
I
deserve the world."
wrote,
And then
oh fuck, well, just rip out my fucking heart. Like, just take
I
it.
know, I was like, that's why I was
What the
like, what the
fuck?
fuck?
Yeah. And that's the end of part 1 of the book. So it was very like I wasn't ready. I thought we were gonna have more. I did expect Ceres to die at some point, but I didn't think it was gonna be that quick.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought it was gonna have something to do with Moray.
Yeah.
Like they all go to the castle and obey it, or like they get there somehow, and then they like have like not a standoff, but like
I did expect it to be him defending Nox though. I thought he was gonna be defending her in some type of situation, or sacrificing himself for her. But I did not anticipate this situation. So
this
yeah,
heartbreaking moment. Yeah,
it's very
so
heartbreaking. And that's the end of this
and
episode.
that
That's it.
yeah, and that was the end of part 1. So next time we will do part 2, The Daughter of Madness and
Yep.
Ruin. So until next time.
Bye.